What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about what I just want to kind of. So, hey, welcome to the Bigger Love Podcast. This is Pat and Sam Cullinane. We never do an intro.
It's because we have the music in the already pre-intro. That's why we don't ever do it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Anyway, this is a solo podcast, if you will.
No,
Duo.
not a true. Yeah.
Actually,
Now a solo podcast is where only one of us is talking.
I'm going to turn the mic around to you, and I'm going to interview you for a little bit because you've had some exciting things happen in the last few weeks. Tell me what you've been up to, Sam.
Well, Patty, Patrick. Let's see. I was in Mexico, and
What were you doing in Mexico? Tell me about that.
Well, it was amazeballs. We had these friends. Well, you were there for all of this as well, so this is kind of a weird interview, but we have these friends that have been together for a really long time and have been our friends pretty much since they got together for 17 years. And they asked us if we would marry them. So you and I both got ordained by mail through the Universal Life Church.
As in, like, not polyamory, but more like perform the ceremony.
Right.
Yeah, just to be clear.
In case somebody was misconstruing what you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we performed the ceremony with them in Mexico. We spent, 5 days down there with them.
Mm-hmm.
It was wonderful. We had a really fun time, and then married them out on the beach in kind of a rainstorm. It stopped raining for the ceremony, which was great, but it had rained that whole day, and we kind of left it till the last day to have the ceremony. But it was really beautiful and fun. Was there anything you wanted to say about it? By the way, congratulations, Sean and Mel. These are our friends, Sean Barbario and Melanie Irwin. Congratulations on getting married finally. Yeah. Yay! And we had so much fun with you.
And nobody even said it's about time. And I'm not going to say it either.
You just said it.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It was cool. I've obviously never officiated a marriage before, and it was really cool to share that, first time with you.
Yeah.
Just like the first time you ever had sex was with me. Right?
Honey, we already talked about this, and
What?
The answer is no.
Are you kidding?
You are not my first.
God bless. That's all right.
Well, let's here. We have these little cans of wine.
Just a shout out to Trader Joe's, by the way. These
simpler wines.
The white bubbly ones are real good.
Yeah, they're real good. Thank you to Erica, who told us about these. Anyway, cheers to Mel and Sean and their marriage. And now we're going to get in trouble because we totally bootlegged these into Utah. We don't have... Yes, we did.
We're real close to Arizona. I could probably run there faster than somebody could catch us.
We don't have Trader Joe's with alcohol in Utah, so we have to bring them in from other states.
So every day that we were in Mexico, you had to go take some time out and spend at least an hour to an hour and a half by yourself. Why was that?
Well, Patrick, it's because I was preparing for the TEDx Talk that I was doing.
You did a TEDx Talk?
Yeah, isn't that exciting?
Fuck out of here. Unbelievable.
Well,
There's no way anybody knows this about you. Go on.
I know, because I've been talking about it since I got it. I've been so excited. I didn't think I was going to get one this year, so it's really cool that I got it and that I got to do it. And here's a toast to Sean and Mel, who encouraged me to do that talk in front of them every night that we were there in Mexico to help me out. So I appreciate them letting me do that, as we're really there to celebrate their love and their union. But I also got to practice my TED Talk plenty of times for them.
She even stopped in the middle of the ceremony and delivered her entire TED Talk.
Don't lie to our listeners.
You would have.
No. Well, if you guys wanted me to.
Yeah. Anyway, we did the TED Talk this weekend, right? Or I went with you and you did it.
Yeah. We went to Normal, Illinois. We were there Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And those were a long 3 days. Because just the time going up to the TEDx Talk was intense, making sure I was ready and
we
trying
flew
to get
straight
mentally
there from
prepared.
Mexico.
Yeah, straight from Mexico, where it was beautiful and warm, to Normal, Illinois, where it was cold, very cold.
When we landed, I think.
Yep, pretty chilly.
Maybe 25. Maybe it's 25.
And we both had to do some catch up. So we're just sitting in this hotel room mostly all day on Friday doing our catch up work on our computers. And then I had to go to a rehearsal and then dinner. And then thank God that the talks were in the morning because I don't, by the time the talks came around, I didn't sleep that night. And then I was, my nerves just weren't great.
Nope. She gets
I
super,
tried
super
really,
nervous.
I tried so many things to keep my nerves and my anxiety down, and it worked pretty well until the night before.
And then right before you went on stage, and you have a little panic attack.
Yeah, I had a pretty bad panic attack right before I went on stage, but you know what helped, which was surprising, was talking to my coach. I went to my coach and I said, "I'm freaking out." And she was so cute. She's like, "You're ready. You're
What
going to
was her
be
name?
great." Lily Vore.
Yep, Lily.
Thank you, Lily, for calming me down.
And
And
thanks, Megan.
Sam, yeah, and Megan, who did my makeup, who did my makeup, who sold me my makeup actually at the department store, which was so cute because as she's doing it, she's like, "What is this for?" And I was like, I'm already an hour because I was an hour late to the after part. It wasn't after, it was the party after the rehearsal. So it's like a rehearsal dinner for the TEDx. And I said to her, I'm like, "I'm an hour late to this party. I just need you to fix because I had all these pimples I got probably from the stress and my hormones and everything." I think we're going to be doing podcasts about menopause soon. But anyway,
What?
yeah, I
How
feel like
great
it's
it is, or
coming.
how easy it is, and why we don't understand why people bitch about
I
it.
hope that's how those conversations are
Me
going to
too.
go. But anyway, so I don't really wear makeup. So we had to go to the department store and I just said, "Hey, can you just cover these zits and make my face look better than it does?" And
Let me tell the rest of it. You take too long.
okay.
So she's like, "Oh, you're doing a TED Talk. Oh, wait, you're the sex maintenance lady. I heard you on the radio." And Sam's like, "Oh no, that's not me. Sex maintenance, yeah." And I'm like, "Nope, I think you got somebody else standing there." And then I walked around because it's boring watching girls put makeup on, and I came back like 10 minutes later, and they were still talking. And Sam, we talked about our book a little bit, and then Sam said something, and she's like, "You are the sex maintenance lady that just say yes." And Sam's like, "Oh yeah, that is me." And she's like, "Yeah, I just call you the sex maintenance lady." So she'd actually heard her on an NPR review or radio show, and
Yeah,
it,
that was cool.
and it was Sam's first experience at being a star.
Yeah, she's like, "I totally know you. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to do your makeup." And Megan, you did a great job in case you're listening.
Yeah,
And thank you so much for saving my ass and doing
but
it so quickly.
like I said, we digress a teeny bit in that you had a panic attack, you got up on the stage,
And I
and
felt super
everything that I always say, like, why you don't have to worry, this is me being me, and probably not being
well, and I don't
compassionate or validating enough, but I'm like, what's the worst thing that could happen, you know
well, and I don't like to think of worst case scenarios really, but I was really worried about I'll get like getting nervous and getting self-conscious about being nervous and then forgetting what I'm saying. Like that's because that's happened to me and it creates long awkward pauses and then the audience kind of knows you don't know where you are and I just don't like to do that. And so that was really what I was thinking of and I practiced a lot so there wouldn't be any pauses, just so I knew it so well that that
and,
wouldn't happen.
and
And
anybody's
I
ever
did
seen her
practice the shit out of it. I mean, I've probably done this speech
1,000 times.
probably
anybody
1,000 because I started working on it a year ago.
anybody that's ever seen her speak would never know that about her, and she carries herself really, really well on stage, despite all the anxiety and everything before she gets out there. And she got out there, and about a third of the way through, she was just rocking it, kicking ass. And about a third of the way through, her mic cut out a little bit, and it was like this: she was talking, and then you would hear her over here like this, and so you could still kind of hear her, but then it would disappear a little bit like that. So, and then it started getting worse and worse, and finally the lady in the front row was like, "I can't even hear you." And she's she said out loud, "Can anybody else hear me?" And nobody could, and so she just stopped.
Everybody started yelling, "No, we can't hear you." Because I was like, "Can you guys hear me?" And
And they
nope.
came out and messed with her mic, and you could hear her again for a second, so she started back up again. She goes, "Well, let me go back a little bit." She went back like about 30 seconds and started up again.
No, that's not what happened. First, they said, "Stop talking." just stop. We're trying to fix something." They didn't come out on stage. That's what I remember this part pretty well. They didn't come out on stage. They said, "Just stop talking." And I said, "Okay." And then I said to the people in the front row something like, "I'm talking about sex, so you're probably just really waiting with bated breath to know what I'm going to say next." I think I said something silly like that. And of course, my mic turns on and you can hear me talking now. And
Anyway, this happened like 3 or 4 times. She had to go back and forth and back and forth. She had to rewind because the mic kept cutting out, and then eventually they made her go off stage for a few minutes. At one point, when her mic cut out, they said, "Just stay there. Don't hang on a second." She's like, "Well, maybe I'll just dance for everybody," and she danced. And then
I didn't know what else to do. Well, and I was
eventually,
like, "I wish I knew a joke. Does anybody know a joke?" And you could only hear probably with three words, and some people could hear me, some people couldn't. And then at one point during this whole debacle, I'm trying to get back to where I am, and I'm can't, talk about forgetting where you are, because now I've had to restart so many times. And you get in a flow of where how the speech is supposed to go, and starting in the middle and then starting at a different point is a little discombobulating. So anyway, there I am trying to restart, and I hit the wrong button on the slide projector. I hit the back button because I had to go back a few times before to restart. I hit the back button instead of the forward button after finishing that part. And I just turned my back to the audience, and my mic was also still kind of cutting out, and I just said, "Shit." And the mic didn't cut out when I said that.
anyway, she
Anyway, it was people, the audience. Here's what I will say about that whole thing. The audience was amazing. Pamela Krim has this, who was one of the other speakers, who's an amazing speaker as well. She was awesome, and she has a women's mastermind called Big Life, and she had like, I don't know how many of them were there, like 40 or 50 of these
I
women
think I
from
was
her.
thinking 30, but
30. Well,
it was a lot.
it was a lot, and they all had shirts on that were matching that said Big Life, and those women were laughing so loud, and they got up and danced when I danced and cheered, and they just were great. It was like it was a perfect audience.
So
Everybody was really supportive. And at one point too, when I think I was just like looking down like, "Oh, I don't know where I am. I got to restart." And I'm taking a deep breath, and somebody yells, actually, I think it was Jay, who was one of the other speakers. Actually, everybody we met in Normal was awesome. Jay, one of the other speakers. I can't remember his last name. Dang it. Jay, you were awesome because you yelled out from the audience, "You're doing a great job."
yeah. Anyway, the this is huge shout out to Normal, Illinois. And Bloomington Normal is kind of, they kind of share. It's a city split in half, kind of, but it's the same area. And a lot of people heard of Bloomington, Illinois, but not necessarily Normal. But they're
It's kind of like I think
yeah,
Normal's kind of like a sort of like a suburb of Bloomington.
yeah. I think both of them are pretty proud of their own areas too. So I
That's
don't
true.
want to
That's
group
true.
everybody together, but everybody we met there was outstanding.
Yeah.
And
And they treated us like gold. All the organizers did such a great, when we got there, they had the schedule all laid out. We had coaches. They put us up in the hotel. We had an amazing dinner the night before the TEDx talks and a great after party after. They just really,
yep,
I don't
first
know what
class.
happens in all the other TEDx events, but it was first class.
And she ended up getting a standing ovation, and I think it was largely a testament to how she handled all the crap that came at her on stage, and restarting 3 different times. And the funny part was it kept cutting out at like when she's talking about nocturnal, penile, this and dry vaginas, and she had to keep repeating those parts. So it's like if there's anybody in the audience that's at all, and there are people that still feel like, not that sex is taboo. I think we're starting to get a little bit over that as a society, but because it has been like that for so long, there's still people that are like, "Whoa, you can't say that," or, "Oh God, that makes me feel awkward," and
Well,
so
and the slide that I had to show multiple times also was a picture of a guy with a morning wood. It's a cartoon.
yeah,
But that when they were going
and
through
he's
my
got boxers
presentation,
on,
yeah, he's
so
got boxers on and stuff.
it's
So
not like a big hairy penis or anything.
yeah, totally not that. And when they were going through my presentation, they were like, do you really need this slide? And I said, yes, I absolutely do. And let me tell you the 10 reasons why.
Yeah.
And I
Anyway,
was adamant that that slide stay, but that was one of the ones where they're like, is this necessary really? Because I
she
said, is
got
it inappropriate? Because we're talking about sex and
you're like
erections are
totally
part of
rabbit
sex.
holing.
I know.
the the theme is the moral of the story is that Sam's TEDx talk almost, I hope they post it with a lot of that crap in there, because
Yeah, I don't know what the
it
video
ends
is
up,
going to be
and
like.
I mean, she got the standing ovation because of her perseverance. And huge props to you for handling that the absolute best way you possibly could have, when all of your fears of what's the worst thing that could possibly happen, none of those things even happened, did they? It was something you never even thought of.
Well, actually, I mean, it's still, the funny thing is my worst fear did happen. As I'm having to start and restop, I'm having to pause, and I am forgetting where I am because I am a little nervous about the mic, and I can hear it still cutting out, and I'm not really sure what to do. So I mean, the first half that happened before the mic cutouts was going so great. I was in flow. I was right. I mean, I was really I felt like I was connecting with the audience. I thought it was going really great. And then after that, it was not as smooth,
It was great. You got a standing ovation. That's all that needs to be said.
which was amazing. I mean, I don't know that that's ever happened to me.
Anyway, we got back home the day after that,
We did.
and we're home right now as we're living in an Airbnb in Kanab for the next couple of months.
Kanab,
And
Utah. And it's raining. It's been raining for the last couple of days
it was
since
a
we've been here.
beautiful 70-degree world-class hiking day the first day we were home, and we both were playing so much catch up we never even made it out the door, and it's been raining ever since. So
Yeah, that kind of sucks, huh? Well, let's talk about you, because this was my goal. I wanted to do a TEDx talk. I wanted to talk about sex, and it ended up being in Normal, Illinois. Let's talk about how this whole thing has been for you. Because let's see, they told me I was going to be doing this in what, September, I think, mid-September.
yeah. So when you take on a project like this,
Me specifically, or when you as in general people?
you specifically,
Okay, just
it's
wanted to know.
I already know. I know that. I think when you say, I'd be amazed if anybody rehearsed as much as you do. I mean, it is a lot. Sam doesn't memorize anything. She mind maps it. She
I bet
uses
Pardeep
the
does. I bet
maybe.
Pardeep does. By the way, Pardeep was one of the other speakers. He had a great talk. I think his last name is Hindal. Pardeep Hindal. His talk was called "Live Full, Die Empty,"
Yep.
and I bet he practiced as much as I did.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a lot like that, where the TED Talk becomes it's not the most important thing in your life, but it's the main focus, if you will. And there's just a lot of practicing, a lot of, like, you've rehearsed it 1,000 times, and I probably heard it 500. So
Sorry, I tried to do it in the bathroom and
it's
kind
not
of in
that. I mean,
private, or when you're
you're
gone,
making
or in the
tweaks to
car,
it,
or
and you're too long, and you want help figuring out how to cut it down. And sometimes I think you get bad advice, so I want to listen to it, and I want to weigh in a little bit, and then sometimes you don't want to bother me with it, so you reach out to pretty much anybody and everybody who will listen and give you some feedback. And
that's true.
and while I appreciate everybody giving Sam feedback, none of it's ever as good as mine. But because everybody else muddies the water with their feedback, mine gets ignored sometimes, and it hurts my feelings real bad.
Oh, I'm sorry, baby.
Just kidding.
Does it hurt your feelings when I don't
No, not at all.
take your advice?
No, it doesn't. I mean,
Did I not take your advice?
no, I just said I was joking. I was just
Okay.
being a smartass.
Oh, all right.
It is hard though, because I am anxious for the whole thing to be fucking over. It's like, God, I can't wait for 2 days in a row where we don't have to talk about Sam's TED Talk.
I did a really good job for the whole day after the TEDx talk not talking about it.
Except for first thing in the morning.
That was before I said I'm not going to talk about it ever again today.
Yeah. Although you did spend a lot of time on your phone accepting all the new friend requests from all the people that went to your TED Talk.
I know, that was so great. All
But
those really sweet ladies from Big Life.
anyway, you got another one. So there's a TEDx Women event in Park City, and you've been invited to speak at that one. I don't know how many live speakers they're going to have, 2 or 3 tops, right?
I don't
Or
know.
maybe
I'm
one.
supposed to actually, after this podcast is over, I'm supposed to have a phone call with the organizer.
Yeah. So we get to do it all over again, but hopefully it won't be. Well, I know for the week or 2 up to it, it will be. So we'll probably have a little downtime, maybe to Thanksgiving, but then you're going to get, and I guarantee you practice it 15 times before Thanksgiving even, but
Probably I'll at least practice it once a day,
yeah.
if not
So
twice, because I just, when it's fresh in my mind, and I don't know, maybe I over practice.
some days it's hard though.
I know, baby. I'm sorry. We're almost through this.
Like there's been a couple of times where I'd like share something that really cool happened to me, and I could tell that you barely paid attention, you know.
I know. I've felt very distracted and selfish. Like, I recognize that my pursuit of this goal, and I guess it is really the way I'm doing it, right? It's not just like you said. I'm maybe over practicing. Like, I'm too much of a perfectionist. It would be fine if I didn't practice as much. So
One of the
it's a
things is,
little bit, it is, so maybe the way I'm doing it is really, I've felt selfish. I can feel myself not paying as much attention to you and or whatever else is going on, and being preoccupied about this talk, which, again, like, it's so silly because really, it we're dust in the wind, and that's even less important. It's a blip on the screen that means maybe nothing.
well, that's an interesting point because you just kind of hinted at it, and we talked about it a little bit earlier today. And the older we get, the more we're trying to wrap our heads around how important is it to set and achieve goals at whatever the cost. And when I say whatever the cost, I don't mean, the cost of your family or something huge like that, but I do mean that, there are people that are, what's the word? Rabid goal setters or rabid goal achievers, or you know what I mean?
Kind of extremist in the goal setting and achieving.
Yeah. And so it becomes about setting a goal for yourself and then going out and doing it, right? And there's times where, I mean, the only thing I can use as an example is a book. There's times where I picked up a book and said, I want to read this book. And I start reading it, and I'm like, I've given this book 140 pages. It's 380 long. And I don't want to waste any more of my time reading this book. It didn't do it for me. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll set a goal for ourselves where we realize along the way that, you know, there's some sacrifices that we're making that may or may not be worth, the outcome of the goal. And I don't think your TEDx talk is anything like this, but
Well, it might be. I mean, who knows? Again, like, I could have just done all of that and spent all this time preparing and all this stuff, because as much as I love normal and wanted to do this talk for the 300 people that were in attendance, or how many ever people were there, it's more about getting this message out to a broader audience, right? You do it so that you can have that video that can go to a broader audience, so that your message can be, because I really believe in this message. I think it's so important. I think it can change relationships. I think it will save relationships and people's sex lives. And here I am talking about my TEDx talk again. But you do that for the video. And here I've gone through this whole thing in normal, and I'm not confident they'll be able to get a decent video out of it because of the audio problems. So that
yeah,
kind of sucks.
that's interesting. So it's the same type of thing. It's the exact same thing I'm talking about. I'm not talking specifically about your TEDx talk, but
Well,
when
we
we
might as
talk
well use
about
that as an example because we're
when we talk
talking
about
about
we
it.
want to be an influencer, or we want to we want to help bring awareness to something, right? And sometimes um it's just a fine line. It's the same thing with the goal setting. It's the same thing with all of it. What are we missing out on when it comes to living a life? You know what I mean? And sometimes when we set that goal, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to be promoting myself, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that, and sometimes I just feel like, fuck, why? I'm gonna just stop, breathe.
Go outside,
Yeah.
check out some birds.
So
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's
finding the right amount of balance, I think, is probably the biggest challenge for anybody that doesn't have enough money, doesn't have enough spirituality, really wants to give back in the world. It all kind of comes around where you got to eat, you know, um,
you need a roof.
you need a roof,
Well, it's better with a roof.
and everybody needs to give back, I think, to a degree. But when it comes to standing in a line, I don't know. I'm not gonna say that.
I'm like, I don't know where you're going with this. I don't even understand what the give back or the spirituality and all that stuff. I didn't understand your line of thinking when you're talking about spirituality. And what were you trying to say? That those are other, like, you have a goal, and I think you're trying to say that a lot of the goals aren't around giving back, aren't around spirituality, aren't around.
Sometimes if they
Is that what you're trying to say?
well, no. Sometimes I know people in my life who, from me being outside looking in, their sole focus is on their own spirituality, so much so that they don't necessarily have, I don't know, the relationship side seems to me like it falls by the wayside. I'm not saying that's you, but I know people
Who are
that are
you
like
talking
that. They
about?
get so deep into it. I know people that
Who?
run, I'm not going to name names.
No, I'm really okay. You can tell me later.
I know people
I'm curious.
that get so hell bent on giving back that they're wearing themselves completely out. They're not as healthy as they could be. They're traveling nonstop. They don't have, you know what I mean? There's people that take it to such an extreme, in other words. So
No matter what kind of goal it is, you mean?
yeah, it doesn't matter if it's money, it doesn't
Got
matter.
it.
But there's what I'm trying to say is that there's a intricate balance out there that sometimes we can set goals or decide that something is exactly what we want, where we let a lot of our other parts of that balance waver, if you will.
But and it's interesting because I kind of have a different perspective, which is that in order to accomplish great things, I think it requires extraordinary focus.
Agreed.
And I think that you can't always have a balance, that you actually have to allow things
Give and take.
to
Agreed.
come out of balance in order to achieve great things. Like if you think about when we wrote the book, and even this new version, which we can talk about it here in a second. We let a lot of things out of balance but we're not, this isn't a long period of time, right? We're talking about,
Sprints.
6 weeks or whatever,
It's
right?
like software development, you do sprints.
Yeah, exactly. So you have these sprints. I mean, if I wanted to do a TED Talk every month for the rest of my life, we would have a big fucking problem.
Well, I know people that are kind of like that, though. That's what I'm trying to say. So I can see how it could become a problem. And I'm not going to. You're not that. So
right.
We come full circle back to when you asked me. It gets right up to the point where I'm like, oh, thank God this is going to be over. But if you decided that you wanted to give a different TED Talk once a quarter, I'd be like, oh God.
I would be like, oh God, I wouldn't. Yeah, that's a lot.
So
the good news is I don't want to do that, babe. The good news is I'm going to do this one on December 13th. And if I ever do another one, it will be, well, I'm going to have something really important to say again.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about it.
Carve out. And this isn't for you, it's to finish my thought, which is, carve out time to establish, to get, to have connection with those people closest to you. And even when you're
hard charging,
you know what I mean? Sometimes that's when it's even most important to keep yourself a little bit grounded. But
and so I feel like during this TEDx thing, I have definitely made efforts to make sure that I'm still connected to you. And even when we were in Mexico, I still felt like I did a good job of just sort of dropping it and only spending those few hours or whatever that time was working on it and not talking about it all the time and not thinking about it all the time. And maybe you guys felt differently, but I felt like I felt like I did that, or I
No,
tried to.
I think you did that for the time that we were with Sean and Mel, and then we carved out some time each day when we were by ourselves. But yeah, it's still like the main focus. You know what I mean? It's everything else is built kind of around that. Well, it's when we're that close anyway. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we came out the other side until the next one.
Yep. In a month.
So
Let's talk about the new book for just a second.
we have a new book.
Yeah. Did you hear we have a new book coming out?
Yes.
What's it called?
It's called Marriage.
Keep going.
You mean? Well, there's a subtitle. Do you want me to read that?
Actually, that the subtitle isn't.
Or is
This
it just Marriage colon?
Yeah, marriage colon. That's that sounds gross when we say it like that.
I don't. Yeah.
You gonna keep going, or do you want me to say the title because you can't remember?
I remember it. I never liked the title though, so I haven't really owned it. It's Marriage from Something to Magnificent. From
They're all M words.
I know.
You got this. It's alliteration, my favorite.
To Magnificent.
Seriously, babe, you can't even remember the name. It's
I've been
from
fasting for 3 days, and you just gave me half of a white wine spritzer thing. So
well, that's true.
I'm starting to feel a little
Yeah, maybe you're
stupid
drunk.
right now.
It's marriage from miserable
That's what I
to
said.
magnificent.
That's what I said.
And then we kept the subtitle from the first book, which is the same book, except for this book is He Said, She Said, They Say, where, and actually some of the original book has changed a little bit because we've changed, we've changed our perspective. It's been, 2 years since we wrote the last book.
Yep. So it's Marriage from Miserable to Magnificent with the subtitle Make America Great Again.
No.
Keep America Great Again.
No. America's not anything, but it does start with keep.
Keeping the love of your life for the rest of your life.
Yes. Yes. Good job, honey.
I know.
You got it.
It's mostly kidding, except for the miserable part. You know why I can't remember that word is because I've never felt miserable.
I felt miserable before we split up.
You did?
I did.
Yeah, not me. I've never been anything but happy with you, honey.
Well, that seems like a lie. It smells like a Whopper.
Anyway, so we've talked about the book before, but it went from He Said, She Said, which is how we wrote the first book, and then Sam, because of all the research she's been doing for the TEDx talk, she applied it like 12 different TEDx's around all the way into Canada.
But the research, actually, the research wasn't just for the TEDx.
I know, but it sparked your interest because the more
it did spark my interest.
The more we talk about this stuff on our podcast and we talk about our book, and we've been asked to speak several times, and it's the curiosity is, we just wrote what we learned, right, and what worked for us,
our own experience,
and because we've talked to a lot of people, there's a lot of people that agree that that shit works, but was there scientific studies that were ever done around it, and what did those studies find out, and how long ago were they done, and what was their basis? And when you start diving into some of that stuff, it's interesting as hell. So Sam wanted to add the scientific aspect, or the they say, to each chapter, and she did probably 90% of it, by the way, because I didn't think we needed it, but that was probably more due to the fact that I just didn't want to fucking do it.
Yeah, you didn't want to revise this book at all. You thought it was great how it was, and I agree. I really like the science of it too, and I thought it was awesome that all the things that we recommend doing in the book, not all of them. There's like 2 or 3 things where we gave advice that, well, actually we just made statements, like for one example is opposites attract. As it turned out, actually they don't. People are drawn to people that have, similar backgrounds, similar values.
You just said this in the podcast we talked to today, and now
yeah, but it's still true.
Okay.
That one comes out later.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh yeah, you're going to hear that again. Sorry about that. But I just got fascinated with the science, and I was thrilled that we could find so much science that backed up what our advice was.
Yep. So the first book, Bigger Love, if you don't like science, buy that one. If you like science, buy the new revised one. Although we've just talked about, somebody gave us an idea today about another chapter to add. So
yeah, and I think we're gonna there's some of the original book that's changing as well. So
yeah.
it will be slightly different. But if you've read Bigger Love, I don't know, it might be interesting to go back and look at the They Say too, to know that the advice that we were giving was solid.
Yeah, if you've read Bigger Love, give it to somebody else and buy the new one. Yay.
Yeah, good idea. Spread the love. How was it when I was doing the sprint to finish the book? Because that happened also just in the last month or two. That was kind of happening around right as I was finishing my book sprint is when they told me I got my TEDx talk.
Yep. That wasn't so bad because you just went upstairs and worked by yourself for like the entire day. And a lot of the work I do is, behind a computer screen. So,
So it's weird that that's different from the TEDx talk because I don't practice in front of you. I go into the bathroom.
It's because when you're doing the TEDx talk, you want to talk to everybody that we meet about the TEDx talk all the time. So, and then when you get phone calls, you're talking about it. You're just always talking about it. And whereas when you're revising the book, it's just kind of you. You don't talk about it as much.
That's interesting.
It doesn't engross every single conversation. Whereas the TED talk comes up all a lot. So that's the difference from my perspective.
I wonder why I'm bringing it up so much. Maybe just because I'm thinking about it a lot. But I mean, when I was revising the book, I was thinking about it a lot too.
There's no anxiety tied to you writing the book other than maybe meeting a deadline. But there's a lot of anxiety when you just think for a second about standing up in front of 400 people and delivering a talk.
Yeah, that's very true. So you think my anxiety is making me a little bit
or menopause?
Crazy. It's probably both. Fuck.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right.
It's fun times.
Yippee ki-yay!
All right, we talked way more. We promised this was going to be a 15-minute episode. Sam promised me it was going to. And
I didn't promise anything.
You did. You put me on a hot seat. You also said it was going to be topless, and you're wearing a shirt the whole time. How cool is it?
That was this morning.
And you have a nice hotel shirt on. So that's random.
Oh, yeah. Ice Hotel. Oh.
I just reached into a bin and pulled this hat out and didn't even want to wear it. And I'm like, oh, fuck it. I don't have to go anywhere today.
You don't have to go anywhere. You just have to be on the podcast
put a video out there on YouTube. That's all I got to do today. So who cares what I look like?
All right. So if we were going to try to.
By the way, did you guys know that every one of our podcasts is also a video on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Yep. And I know that most of you don't know that because I see that we get 200 to 300 downloads minimum. Some of our more exciting guests, we get up to 500 or 600 downloads a week. But I think the most views any of our YouTube videos have been like 20.
Well, maybe they don't want to see us. Actually, I don't. Well, I listen to a bunch of podcasts.
Sam's freaking hot.
Oh, you're so sweet, baby. I think you're hot.
Well, that's a given. But people can hear that in my voice. They can hear the sexual
hotness.
Energy oozing out of my mustache.
Vocal cords.
It's Movember, motherfuckers.
Yeah, I like it when you start growing your Grizzly Adams beard. Well, if we were going to take summarize or try to get this whatever we've been talking about here to a few gems. Do we have any gems to pull out of this thing?
Yeah, don't set goals.
Don't set goals.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm like,
the gems that I would give are I think it's
careful of your focus.
I think it's really God, I'm having a hard time coming up with the words I want to come up with today, but articulating, I mean, see, can you even say that? But
you got it. It came to you.
I think it's I don't know. I think it's really important. Obviously, our world would never advance if people didn't set goals or get curious or give back or share knowledge and information and all that stuff. So,
or get uber focused on whatever it is that they're into.
Absolutely. I mean, nothing would get done. Any mathematician who didn't stay focused would probably never have solved anything. So but at the same time, your relationships and just the world that's happening around you, there's so much incredible shit out there. Try to maintain a little bit of balance. And yeah, I don't know what to say, because I'm kind of, you asked me how I felt about your recent TED Talk,
Yep.
and I'm a little bit like coming from that place. So we haven't really been 100% in balance. I'd love to get back to that. Maybe that's what it is, wishful thinking. That's my pearl.
And you don't think that when I'm focused on other things, like other work stuff or other, whatever I'm working on at the time, you don't think, I mean, this has been extreme. Is that what you're trying to say? Because I set all kinds of goals. I reach all kind of goals. It's not like this is the first goal I've ever had that I've reached. It's not the first time I've been uber focused on something.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, we'll probably have to revisit this whole topic again when I can articulate a little bit better and put my thoughts together a little more, just because I feel like I've been a little bit all over the place. I don't really feel like I have. Actually, you know what? My key takeaway,
I think you've been great.
forget everything that I've said, as far as key takeaways go, because I have definitely not articulated that point. And this is what I believe is the absolute key takeaway from this podcast, and that is that no matter what you think the worst possible thing that can happen will be, all you're going to do is make yourself a little bit miserable while you worry about that, because 9 times out of 10, the worst case scenario isn't even something you ever thought of. So it's about perseverance and powering through it and having fun while you're doing it. And Sam did all those things when she did her talk, and I'm real proud of her.
Oh, thanks, babe. That was my goal. As I was walking out on stage, I'm like, this is just going to be fun. I'm just going to make this fun. I'm going to enjoy it.
We got to give another shout out to Jeff DeLone, which we've done before.
Oh, yeah, Jeff.
But his releasing, he does the emotional releasing, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the technical term is, but I think it's emotional releasing. We should probably
just have him on to talk about it sometime.
Oh, we should. Let's do that.
What was the intention that you and he set?
We set this intention together the night before the talk, that it wasn't about success. It wasn't about delivering it perfectly. It wasn't about any of that stuff. The intention we set was that I would show up imperturbable, meaning no matter what happened, I would be good with it and I would enjoy the experience, whether I was having a panic attack or not having a panic attack, or delivering it well or not delivering it well, that I would be unshakable.
That's what happened.
And that's exactly what happened. So thanks, Jeff, for that. Yep. I appreciate it. And your emotional releasing is very powerful.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks.
I have a lot of other people to thank too, by the way. Maybe after I do the second one, I could do some more thank yous.
We'd love to get some comments too on our, I know a lot of people listen to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, but I'd love to get a few comments on, what your favorite podcasts are, who your favorite guests are, who your favorite type of guests are, whether or not you like it when we do our solo episodes and we both ramble and basically deliver nothing of value like I just did. Or
not true, babe. Stop.
We talked about
that's not self-loving,
and I'm really good at both of those. But
where can they do that? Where do you want them to do that? On the Not So Perfect Couple Podcast Facebook?
Anywhere. Leave us a review anywhere where you just give us your opinion on what your favorite.
Yeah, you can do it in.
I would love that.
The podcast one. You can do it on our Facebook page, which I think is under Bigger Love, or you can look at Not So Perfect Podcast. You can do it in Instagram. You can send us emails at Sam at Bigger Love or Patrick at Bigger Love. So let us know what you think.
Biggerlove.com.
Yeah, I think people know that part, but I guess you're right because we have zippy.app. All right.
Anyway, we'd love to hear from you guys. So have a great day.
Yeah. Hope you've enjoyed this ramble. Okay, love you. Bye.